The occupant of the cottage, the old man, was a trusting person. Was a trusting person, and because he did not have and was quite talkative also. He had no wife, no children, and because he wanted company, therefore he had invited the Rattrap peddler to his cottage. Now, having had supper and having played the game of cards, which is called Mayollis, they sit down to talk, and the occupant, who is actually an old crofter, as he tells the Rattrap peddler, he was an old crofter, that is a day laborer, in Ramso Iron Works. This is how he introduces himself. The occupant of the cottage, the old man, tells the Rattrap peddler that in his young days he was a day laborer and used to work at Ramso Iron Works, in the nearby Ramso Iron Works, and that having retired from the active physical labor as of his old age, now he leads a lonely life and is supported by his cow. That gives him enough milk for him to give the sizable amount of that milk to the nearby creamery. And only recently, a few days back, the old man, or the old crofter, had received a good amount of 30 kroner from the creamery. 30 kroner from the creamery. And realizing that the Rattrap peddler did not believe what the old crofter had told him, the trusting old crofter gets up, goes to the window, pulls down the leather pouch, and fishes out 3 wrinkled 10 kroner bills from inside that leather pouch and dangles them before the eyes of the Rattrap peddler, as if to convince him that what he was telling was indeed right. Fine. Thereafter, the both, as I've already told you, they both retire for the day and get up early in the morning. Having found that the occupant of the old cottage, the old man, was already busy attending to his household chores, our Rattrap peddler also gets up and starts towards his own destination. However, having walked for some distance, we find that the Rattrap peddler traces his way back to the same cottage, stands before the same window, smashes the window pane, thrusts his arm inside it, pulls down the leather pouch, opens it, and takes out the same 3 wrinkled 10 kroner bills and puts them inside his pocket and starts on his journey once again, feeling quite smart at what he had accomplished. Fine. Now, with 3 wrinkled 10 kroner bills in his pocket or on his person, he gets a little conscious of the fact that he might get caught, that the police might catch him. of the theft that he had committed, because of the theft that he had committed. Therefore, instead of walking on the highway, he takes a shortcut through a dense forest. Dense forest. He takes a shortcut through a dense forest. And this forest, which accidentally happened to be very dense, relives to the Rattrap peddler the fact that the world was indeed a big rat trap. The forest, as you've been already told, was very dense. There were overgrowth of shrubs. There were trees all around him. And having walked for the entire day, he found that he had been walking on the same track of patch of land. And he finds himself lost in the woods. And he finds this forest as impenetrable, from which he found it very difficult to come out. Physically and mentally exhausted, he collapses on the ground, and as soon as his head hits the ground, he hears regular thumping sounds. And these regular thumping sounds were actually coming from the nearby Ramso Iron Works. The Rattrap peddler, because it had grown dark, the day had drawn to a close, the evening had already drawn to a close, it was getting dark and it was raining also, it was cold outside, musters all his strength and starts to make his way towards, in the direction the regular thumping sounds were coming. And these regular thumping sounds reassured him of the fact that he would have shelter for the night. Fine. It was not unusual for the homeless people in those days to seek shelter for the night in Ramso Iron Works. Now, at this juncture, Selma Lagerlöf takes us inside the Rattrap, takes us inside this Ramso Iron Works. She tells us that at that juncture there was the master smith and his apprentice. They were busy with the work that they had been assigned. And the master blacksmith was sitting by the side of a furnace, whereas his apprentice was putting large amount of coal into the furnace. And all in all, there were lot many sounds inside and outside. And it is because of these sounds that the Rattrap peddler, the master smith and his apprentice did not notice or could not notice the entry of the Rattrap peddler. The Rattrap peddler, who had eased himself inside, who had eased himself inside the Ramso Iron Works, was now warming himself standing very near the furnace. And very soon he found a comfortable place inside the furnace and lay down to rest. Now the same evening, the owner, the iron master, comes on one of his nightly rounds to inspect if everything was going all right, because he was obsessed with the fact of exporting the finest steel to the world. Therefore, he wanted that the workers under him work as he expected them to.